And a mighty fine good morning. It's Paul Harrison here on November the 14th for the Express Stock Up Market Review video that is going out to all you good people who submitted stocks. So thank you very much for that. And some very good stocks. A few stocks that have gone already, but they were in the minority. Again, please, it is important that we're only looking at stocks that are about to be tradable in the next day or two, because obviously it does take my time to go through these as well. So let's start it out to begin with. We've got AG, which is the first one here. My concerns here is, yes, we do have the bounces here, but on that resistance line of 2410-ish. Never any recommendations or anything like that, you guys know that, folks. But we've only got these bounces in a very short amount of time here, so not overly excited by that. AG. Then we have GM, and here what I saw was a downward trending resistance line. So we got boing, 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 and I do think that obviously the stock has already gone from here. There is another shorter term upward trending support line here, but again, that's just from August, and anything less than 4 months I'm not overly keen on trading. I do like the longer term trades. If the stock was up at resistance line, then it would be a lot more attractive to trade on that. Then we have USB, and this absolutely fantastic, great upward trending support line. Bounce there, bada bing, bada boom. That's for you, Wolfgang. Again, it's going to be all about entry point here, getting entry point right. The stock did close yesterday slightly down. Folks, the kind of the thing to be very, very aware of is having longs and shorts at the same time, and at the moment it's very important. What happened here was it's a downward day, and the stock actually ended up down as well. Obviously, you are going to have to use a stop order should you want to trade that stock, because it is obviously an upward trending stock. So that is something to be aware of as well. Click the zoom on that. Okay, then we have H, a support line at 34, about $34. Again, a long position. I do like that it's been up as high as 41, circa 41, 42-ish recently. Again, entry point is going to be important. A little bit of a gap here, just something to be aware of. You're going to again, it's come down, it's put in, there's a lot of indecision here. You can see there's been some up days as it's come down, so it shows some buying. Obviously smaller and smaller days, pretty decent ratio on that as well, should you get your entry point right. Okay, then we have JPM. Short term upward trending support line, or it's a little bit more than a short term, so we've got early June, late July, and current. Yep, nothing you haven't seen before there. There's some internal resistance, internal upward trending resistance here, and there's some outer one here as well, but nothing you haven't seen before. Obviously upward trending, therefore you're going to have to use a stop order should you want to trade that. We have HD. Here the stock, we've got an upward trending support line, a big up day yesterday, gapped up, so I guess that stock is already gone in order to trade. THG, Thug, or Hanover Insurance Group. Okay, we've got a slight upward trending support line here, bounce there, bounce there, bounce there. Pretty decent ratio. You've got recent highs as high as 39. It did gap down a little bit here as well, not too drastic, but the stock is pretty crazy. There's been some pretty big moves over the last few days, and I've seen this with a few stocks, but a fair amount of indecision. You see how it's put in a lot of dojis there, and the highs and the lows have been pretty erratic. So you compare it sort of to this kind of approach here, and then it's sold off, and you can see these big ranging days. So if you do trade that, this is the kind of stock you want to concern yourself with not getting whipsawed in and out. Okay, you may have to use a stop order there, but yeah, your stop loss under the low there, because it's quite a few days here. Sometimes you do see this gap and then it consolidates and sells off, but if you can get your entry point right, you've got a pretty decent ratio there as well. Okay. Then we have EBS, Echo Bravo Sierra. Downward trending resistance line here. I think the stock has kind of gone, if it was to rally back up, then I would be a little bit more interested. But right now it is sort of not mid-range, but it's not exactly ready to trade. Should this rally up, then I would expect to see this stock back in the Friday stock review list. ABC. Okay, just a resistance line here. It's broken the resistance line, so I wouldn't be keen to trade that at all. Broken resistance at around about 40. GMCR. We've got a downward trending resistance line here. My concern with this is there is a slightly upward trending support line here, but according to the rules, obviously, it went up there and they gapped all the way down. There would have been some announcement or something like that. But you've got the upward trending support line here. You've got a downward trending resistance line. It's coming to a little bit of basically the support line and the resistance line are clashing there. So yeah, you be very aware of that on your profit taking as well. That upward trending support line. BMY, you'd expect to see a breakout there one way or the other, but obviously we don't trade breakouts. Here we have a horizontal support line. Round about the support round about 3150, gap down here, but that's way in the past there. Not ready to trade right now, but obviously you'll be looking at that for your stop order, your stop loss, and yeah, maybe it's still a few cents or a few pennies off looking to trade that now. Yep, we got the support line END here at about 620, which is Endeavour. It's come down nicely. You can see it hasn't rocketed down. It's been a good few down days, but you can see how obviously there's been a few up days there as well, which would indicate either profit taking or more buyers coming in. A few dojis. Still say it's a few pence off there. Endeavour. Here we have an upward trending support line. Symmetry Medical. Bounce, bounce, bounce. It does have a tendency to move, well, obviously it moved very quickly there, and that didn't correlate with a huge volume spike either. And then it moved quite quickly off here as well. But what is quite interesting is obviously it's been to some very prior highs before, and again it's sold off from there, but again nothing massive. You're not seeing massive spikes like this on those sell-off days. So just be aware of the personality of this kind of stock. Entry points obviously going to be interesting as well. A lot of long stocks here, a lot of long trades. WX. Here we got the resistance line around about 1530. Maybe that could have gone a little bit higher. Posted a big up day yesterday, so again be aware of that, and that's going to come into your equation for your stop loss as well. GBX. Yeah, this was sitting on support and it's rallied up significantly now, so that was a big day yesterday. We're seeing there's something crazy happening in the markets, folks. We're seeing a lot of stuff, a lot of stocks changing recently, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes moving forward over the next few days and weeks. AAW. Okay, we've got a little bit of a gap down here. We have seen this before. Obviously this upward trending support coming in. It posted a big day yesterday. Again, could consolidate and then sell off after what we have seen happen with the gapping before. And you can see obviously there was a big volume spike here, so there was a lot of sales of stock there over whether it's an announcement or what have you. And there's obviously been buying coming back in as the stock came down to support. CSX. Bounce, 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 bounce. It's quite an angry stock here. Pretty reasonable ratio, I guess. But again, it was a slightly up day yesterday, so a slight up day, and it's put in a few dojis, some indecision there. Okay, downward trending resistance line, boing, 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 boing. You can see that the range, you can see it was actually going down, that the channel was a lot wider between this resistance line and the support line here, whereas now the channel between the support line and the resistance line has got a lot narrower. That's going to take into account obviously your ratios there as well. I'd much prefer to see a recent real low down and then a comeback up here and then a nice little entry point. But unfortunately the stock market doesn't always work for us. So STMP, downward trending resistance line, again it's gapped up. This might be a reverse of what we saw the other side when we see a sell-off, a gap sell-off, a little bit of a consolidation, but still downward trending resistance line. Look for a good entry point if you were looking to trade it. This is pretty much, I mean, we've seen the sell-off. It's come down, it's rallied back up again. It's put in a slightly down entering doji there. So yeah, there we go. We have text. We have a lovely, well, we have a nice upward trending support line here. Bounce, 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 bounce. Entry point is going to be important again. Definite ratios here. I mean, a definite range, pretty good range, but it did put in a very big day yesterday, so that's going to affect your calculations. I would rather see something like this or this on this side over the next day or two in order to, if I was looking to take that trade. T. Okay, we got bounce here, bada bing, bada boom, right in there. Again, it's broken off for a little bit. It's gapped up a little bit there as well. Sorry, gapped down. It's maybe a day or two late for looking at it, but again, you know, I want to get you guys seeing the same things as what I'm seeing here, and I do like that the stock price has been that high recently. Because if it's been that high recently, I mean, there's still the potential in that stock to be able to rally high. People are still looking at it with a, you know, with a reasonable outlook on what it's doing. But again, you've got to get these entry points right, otherwise that is something that will absolutely eat your lunch, as I say. Again, another upward trending support line, bounce, bounce, bounce. A little bit of indecision here. Again, looking for a good entry point. This is almost a perfect entry point here. Okay, it's just a little bit down. There's the three dojis there, and it's taken off as well on the way up. Clear zoom. But again, if it's following the rules, it's following the rules. FISV. We have upward trending support. Again, what I want you to see here is how this channel is narrowed in the shorter term here. Okay, you see how the shorter term channel is narrowed, whereas previously the upward trending, I guess, well, actually you got that upward trending resistance line. It's actually crossing over there, and that's where the sell-off came in. So that is going to have an impact on your ratios as well. Something to be aware of. ADBE. Upward trending support, bounce, 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 bounce. Put in a little bit of a little doji there. So sold off, sold off, sold off. Some indecision coming in here. Obviously, upward trending support line. You're going to need to use a stop order to get into the trade. Zoom. But you've seen that kind of thing before. UNP. Again, upward trending support line, bounce, bounce, bounce. It's a pretty big stock, this. That's not going to get you a 10%, but again, ratios will will be more important than your 10% in the long run. Get your ratios right. Your ratios and your entry points. You know, the level that you guys are at, particularly people who are submitting stocks now. You know what your rules are. You know you'll never go against the trend and stuff like that. But really now it's about being able to get your ratios right and get your entry points right, because I guarantee you there are some people that are 99.9% of the way there to doing their consistent 3 to 6+%. It's just getting those last two little things right. Again, upward trending support line. My concern is this has rallied very, very significantly here. It did gap up recently, which is obviously a good sign if we're looking to go long. But, you know, it's something that's gone up that quickly that can have a tendency to come down as well. And it's put in some nice little dojis there as well. Okay, you might even have to use this as a stop loss here, because that's within 3 days. If you were going to, and you were going to have to use that high point of that actual bounce, which would be right there. So that may affect your ratios there as well. We have BAM. Upward trending support. It's been reasonably high here at the 36. Again, entry points are, well, the upward trending support line is around about there. Could the stock continue on its merry way over the next few months? It certainly could. Will it? No guarantees. But you guys know how to deal with that anyway. BAM. Then we have Sierra Charlie Hotel Whiskey. Upward trending support line. Some really good bounces along here. It did put in a down day, a pretty significant down day. I'd want to see some confirmation of a change of direction here. So ideally a doji or a slightly upward trending doji with a tail. It's just a little bit lower. So the stock would have potentially come down and then rallied back up. And then I'd probably be a little bit more happy with it than what I'm seeing at the moment. INTU. Upward trending support line. You've got your resistance line running around there. So yeah, it's following the rules. Just make sure you get your ratios and the entry point right. INTU. You're gonna get bored of me saying that, aren't you? Upward trending support line again. Bounce, bounce, bounce. People are coming up with some great look. Some. You know, you're doing your work. I'm interested. I'm impressed with how people are coming up with so many stocks actually following the rules. Obviously, following the rules is a large percentage of being successful, but actually being able to get the application is another as well. It did close on a downward doji yesterday, a down doji, which has got a pretty big range on it. So something to be aware of there when you're actually entering your trade, if you're entering the trade on that. NBL. Upward trending support line, bounce, bounce, bounce. It's probably not right there at the moment. We want to see it sell off a little bit. You do have a downward trending resistance line coming into play there as well, which could be interesting over the next few days, but certainly I wouldn't say it's one that's ready to trade right now. QGen. Okay, upward trending support line. It does gap. It does have a tendency to gap a little bit. It's gapped down, and it has gapped up to a slightly less degree. It's gapped up there as well. It's gapped up there. It's gapped down here. So its personality is a little bit that does gap. It's quite an energetic stock, that. RTN. Upward trending support line. Put in a fair amount of indecision here. So we've got the bounce there. We've got the bounce there. We've got a gap and then a bounce. A little bit of consolidation. It's rallied up. It's come back down. You see there's a little bit of indecision here over the last few days. You see how it's put in some pretty big bars here. The stock really doesn't have a huge idea of what it's doing at the moment, but that support line is obviously bringing in some buying power as well. RTN, STX. Upward trending support. Notice the highs here. A short-term downward trending resistance line. And a little doji on from yesterday. Then we have Sierra Whiskey November. Upward trending support line. We've got a resistance line at around about the 36.40 mark. Upward trending support line. It's rallied hugely off there. If you're looking to use the upward trending support line, obviously you're going to have to use a stop order, which I'm guessing is going to destroy your ratios on that right now, because it was such a big up day yesterday. Yeah, there is obviously that longer term horizontal support or resistance line as well. We've got a downward trending resistance line here. Bounce, 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 bounce. Some internal previous, well, there was support there, was resistance there. But a downward trending resistance line. Put in some, yeah, I mean, you've got these bounces all around here as well. So, yeah, there we go. Downward trending support line. This is all I could see at this time. I'm not overly keen on trading a downward trending support line, but in saying that, the difference between the support line was 28 down to 21, so 79 pence. It's been as high as 30 recently. Slightly up day yesterday after 4 consecutive down days. We have M. The only thing I could see here was a very short-term upward trending support line here, but that again is too short-term for me to trade. There is a longer-term resistance line, but obviously this is nowhere near trading right now. Not from that resistance line anyway. BMY support line around about the $31 mark. It has gapped before, but you can see how that ties in with the volume. Yep, it's still a little bit away from coming down to that support line. Only a few cents, but obviously you're going to have to be aware of that as your stop order as well. We have Hotel Sierra Tango. Bounce, bounce, bounce. Some pretty decent support around about the 1423. It has been up pretty high recently as well, and there's a pretty decent resistance around about the $17 mark. Then we have PEB, slight downward trading support line. And this is something that if you were going to trade it, again, it's been up to $25 recently. If you were going to trade it, I would, and you're going to trade it on the downward trending support line, which again, I'm not a huge fan of. But the thing is, we're talking a difference between 21 and 20. So it's not a hugely aggressive downward trending support line. But obviously, I prefer to be trading an upward trading support line. But I would most certainly be using a stop order on this if I was going to trade it. I mean, it's almost already broken it. But not too significantly there. So, yeah, not well. Okay. PEB AIV. We have a support line along AIV here, along the 25-25 area. There is a slight downward trending resistance line here. Let's put in a little doji here. Nice little green doji. So slightly upward day today. Oh, sorry, yesterday. AIV bus. Then we have BAS, which is we've got the support from end of June to current around about the 970 mark. We've got some short-term inward resistance here. Okay, so along there. And then there's some outer resistance around there as well. Again, getting entry points right. Happy days. Yes, JBHT. Here we have a resistance line at around about the $60 mark. Maybe even a little bit higher. It did put in a sort of it was as an update yesterday, but still it closed slightly lower than what it opened at. Again, it gapped here, so you can see when we talk about those gappings, it can sort of hold on a little bit and then consolidate and then rally back up. Obviously, it didn't do it there; it actually gapped down. Again, quite an interesting stock, quite an energetic stock, but it has been down as far as low as 50. What's that, circa $51 in the last few months. But notice how long you're holding on to these trades for, folks. If you're looking to get, I mean, even taking profit around about the $52.50 mark, you know, look how long it took to get from that $52.50 up here was about a month and a half. So you see why I'm saying you're not holding these positions for a few days. Very seldom you're going to hold them for a few days. You're actually going to be holding positions for slightly longer. We have TRW. Resistance line around about the $50 mark. We've got an upward trading support line from late July to early October. It's kind of mid-range right now, so not ready to trade right now. I probably feel more inclined to trade off the, if I was going to trade it, more inclined to trade off the longer term resistance line than the shorter term upward trading support line. AGCO. Here we have an upward trending support line. We've got some degree of resistance there as well. Fair amount of indecision, maybe a day or two late on this trade, because I mean that's textbook. When it's come down here, it's put in the support, and then it's come down with the resistance lines. What am I talking about? It's come down, it's sold off, got down to put in a little doji there on the support line, and then it's put in two nice reasonable up days. But that's, you see what I'm saying about being able to get in on a very, very small day like that. It just really improves your ratios. Be aware of the downward trending resistance line. Again, the stock chain turned direction on here, turned direction and moved all the way down. AGCO. Then we had WEN. Downward trending resistance line. Again, one that's maybe we've missed a little bit. Put in a big spike there. Sold off a little bit. Maybe a little bit late on that stock. And then Saba. And here we have a support line at around about the 726 mark, 725 mark. It's maybe again a day or two late, but you see how it sold off quite aggressively there. You may even see it come back down to retest that support line. But yeah, so there we go, folks. So I hope that's given you some insight with the trading. Keep up these stocks coming through. Please only put down stocks that are ready to go in the next day or two. Otherwise, I'm doing reviews for stocks that are not relevant, and obviously that's taking my time as well. So I hope that's helped, and I will speak with you next week. Next week. What I'm talking about, on Friday morning, just before I fly out to Rome. So there we go. I hope that's been helpful. Cheers, folks. Bye bye.